Big cities outside of Quebec are condemning Bill 21. Toronto and Brampton have voted to fund legal challenges against it. Calgary and London, Ontario are looking to join. The controversial bill bans some public servants, such as teachers and police officers, from wearing religious symbols while at work. Some critics of the bill argue this latest move from cities and sharp criticism from English Canada only adds fuel to the fire. André Pratte is one of them. He is a former senator and now principal at Navigator. He's in Montreal. André Pratte, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I want to begin with your thoughts on English Canada's reaction to this bill and how that's escalated in the past couple of weeks. I get it, the spark, of course, was the reassignment of the teacher in Chelsea, but it has really dominated the conversation since then. I wonder what your take is on the escalation of all that.
Well, I think it's perfectly legitimate for Canadians from outside Quebec to express an opinion on this bill. I mean, after all, the Canadian Charter of Rights is in play here, and whatever decision eventually the Supreme Court makes, whether they strike down the law or not, will have an effect on all Canadians' rights. So I understand that. But I think we still have to be careful in the way we react. I mean, I'm strongly opposed to this bill. And my concern is, how do we get to the result that we all want, which is to get the National Assembly of Quebec to change that bill, to amend it so that it's not discriminatory. Because in the end, only the Quebec National Assembly can do that. So I just ask everyone, our friends in the rest of the country, to think about what are the words that they use, what are the strategies, the tactics that they use, so that in the end it helps us achieve this goal to have the Quebec National Assembly change the law.
You have suggested that indeed it gives fuel to separatist supporters. This is what they'd hope for, this kind of debate. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, but more than that, I think, this issue for now is an issue concerning Quebecers' fundamental rights. This is the issue now. And if it becomes a fight between the rest of Canada and Quebec, then Quebecers will naturally rally behind their provincial government, behind the government of Quebec. So we have to stick to the issue that is Quebecers' fundamental rights. And of course, I mean, separatist leaders, nationalist leaders, separation has never been lower in the polls since the 1970s. So, and the separatist leaders say so very openly. They wish for a Canada-Quebec crisis so that they can save their option. And this is exactly the kind of crisis they're hoping for. Very distinctive points of views on an issue, and words that are strong words that are exchanged from one side of the country to the other, and the tactics, like for instance, the decision by some cities in the rest of Canada to help finance the challenge in front of the courts. All these things help the separatist cause. And I know for many Canadians, this thing is dead and it will never happen again, but you never know. I mean, separation still has 35% support in Quebec, and who knows what a constitutional political crisis could provoke as far as increasing the support for sovereignty.
In an interview with Rosemary Barton, Prime Minister, that aired over the weekend, Prime Minister Trudeau said that defending rights is not just the job of governments. What's your reaction to that? You've written that you think the Prime Minister should have sent Bill 21 to the Supreme Court early on.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with the Prime Minister. And again, as I said earlier, I think it's perfectly legitimate that Canadians in all parts of the country react and express their feelings and thoughts regarding this bill. I believe that in part what is happening now, this is very strong reaction, for instance, by Canadian cities, is in part because of the void left by federal politicians and especially the Prime Minister, who has been very quiet on this issue until very recently, saying that of course he's opposed to the bill, but he won't do anything about it. And the very least I think that Canadians expect is that the Prime Minister and even Quebecers will perfectly understand that the Prime Minister's role in Canada is to defend Canadians' fundamental rights and the Charter of Rights. So Quebecers would expect no less than the government of Canada defending its laws in front of the courts, which they have failed to do up till now.
One of the challenges here, of course, is that passions on this are strong on both sides, right? Yeah. And you referenced this. You wrote to the mayors of Brampton, Toronto, Calgary, warning them against speaking their minds effectively on this. Why did you want to issue that warning to them?
Well, I mean, it's a bit presumptuous to call this a warning. You know, I'm just an individual.
Fair enough. Advising,
yes, and
maybe?
I don't challenge their right to speak out about this bill. My concern is the cities financing the legal challenge. First of all, we don't know whether these people actually do need this money, and if there are ways to raise funds in Quebec. Again, the issue is if outside sources finance this challenge, it will be seen by many Quebecers, and especially nationalist and separatist leaders, it will be seen and shown as a campaign from the rest of Canada to force Quebec to change something that Quebecers have decided to do. So again, I oppose very strongly this bill, and I hope I and many others can convince Quebecers and Quebec politicians to change the law. But the purpose here, our shared purpose, is to get this law changed in the Quebec National Assembly. There's no other way it's going to happen, right? So this is what should inform our thoughts, our the way we speak, the words we choose, and the tactics that we choose.
Do you think change is possible? This has been the law of Quebec for, what, 2.5 years now? As someone who is fighting it from within Quebec, i.e. you, what do you think it'll take to bring change, to amend this bill?
Well, because the solution rests with politicians elected provincially in Quebec, it will change either a change of mind from many Quebecers so that the current government decides to amend the bill, or it will take a change in government. I mean, there are two major political parties in the province, Quebec Solidaire and the Quebec Liberal Party, who are against this law. So, I mean, if either one of them is elected in government, I suppose this means they will change the law. And if not, then the current government has to be forced, if I may, by Quebec public opinion to change the law. Of course, the Supreme Court can also strike down Bill 21, but I am not sure of what scenario would develop in such a circumstance. I have a lot of difficulty imagining Premier Legault just accepting the Supreme Court ruling without doing anything. So he would try to do something. I'm not sure what this is. It could be a referendum. It could be something. But again, the only way to achieve this is for the Quebec National Assembly to amend the law. There's just no other way.
I'm not asking you to predict future Quebec elections, but do you see it happening? I mean, do you see it happening?
Well, when we look at the polls now, of course, Mr. Legault enjoys very high support, extremely high support. In fact, if there was an election today, he would win 100 seats out of 125. So, but I mean, it's still 10 months before the elections, so many things may change, including the Premier's own opinion. Who knows?
All right, André Pratte, I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.